Alright, so I don't know if I've ever said this before, and if I have said it before, bear with me, okay? Because I might just be repeating myself. And that is, the one thing that I really appreciate about the Inuyasha manga is that characters don't stay the same. And I don't mean that in appearance, I mean that in their personality. That their personality does tend to change, but not too much to where they become a completely different character. You know, and that's the one fault I would say the anime has. Now, does that mean the anime just stays stagnant like that? Well, actually, yeah, it kind of does for a very, very long time. But then keep in mind, though, that there's a certain part of the anime that I just stopped watching because I felt there was just no kind of growth going on there. And when I watch a story, I just see growth of some fucking kind. But more importantly, I like to see character growth, as well as uh, how they interact with other characters from in the early stages of the story to later stages in the story. Because sometimes interactions can be completely different from two different time periods. All right, so before I start talking about this review, which is for volume 23, I wrote somewhere I was on volume 27. Uh-oh. Whoops. Um do me a solid. Give this video a thumbs up. That way the YouTube algorithm will know that my content is worth seeing. As well as hit that subscribe button, hit that notification icon, make sure that bell is ring-a-ding-dinging. That way you'll know when I put out another video. That is what my lazy ass feels like putting out another video. I know I've said before that I'm trying to be more consistent, and this time I really am going to try to be more consistent, as well as adding new types of content for the channel that's not just going to be my reviews, because I want to keep things lively. Because you know, I'm a very lively kind of guy. Just brimming with excitement. Can't you see? Okay, so, volume 23 of Inuyasha. This was a pretty good volume because of the characterization of Sesshoumaru. Sesshoumaru has always been my favorite character in the series. No doubt about that. He just exudes. I think I'm just making up words now. But anyways, he's like the essence of big dick energy. He does whatever the fuck he wants, and no one's gonna fucking stop him. Especially, no one is gonna stop him from saying his own fucking name more times than you could shake a stick at. Actually, pretty sure you can shake a stick at something a lot of fucking times, but yeah. Like, we had a drinking game for how many times Sesshomaru says his name when he is in a volume. I'm pretty sure some of us will be going to the ER. Because he just uses that I don't know, pronoun be fucking called? Wow, here I am gonna be a fucking English teacher. I don't know what a fucking pronoun is. He's that pronoun, okay, of I, but then he adds his name to it each fucking time. He's like, I, Sesshomaru. You dare defy I, Sesshomaru? I, Sesshomaru. No one defeats I, Sesshomaru. It's like, dude, We know who you fucking are already. Do you need to keep announcing yourself? But then, he's challenged, or actually, more like he challenges the king of me. And that would be Naraku. Yeah. Naraku, another pompous motherfucker, who's like, you dare to hurt me, Naraku? You can break through my barrier? Me, Naraku? It's like, where do these two guys fucking get off? Like, seriously. Are they just like in their head constantly being like, I must remind all these simpletons who I am? Whether it be I, Sesshoumaru, or me, Naraku. It's just so fucking cheesy. Oh, goddamn. Anyways, okay, back to characterization. So, within this volume, Rin gets kidnapped. And Sesshoumaru is like, alright, whatever, she's kidnapped, who cares? And Naraku is just like, hey, you want your little girlfriend back, go kill Inuyasha. And Sesshoumaru's like, nah, I'd rather kill you. Yeah, that's what I'd rather do. Rather fucking kill you. And so Sesshoumaru finds Naraku's castle, the same fucking castle that Inuyasha and everybody else has had a very hard time finding. Sesshoumaru just finds it like that. But then again, same token, Naraku kind of lured Sesshoumaru into his castle because Naraku had another plan. And his other plan was to basically force Sesshoumaru to come up into little pieces. That way the pieces that would be cut off would start to wrap themselves around Sesshoumaru. That way Sesshoumaru would eventually be taken in as part of Naraku. But that plan was foiled because Inuyasha, whom we know from the previous volume, can now break Kekai barriers. So Inuyasha does that. Oh yeah, fun fact, actually not fun fact, but funny enough, and kind of knowing that she doesn't really like him that much, Naraku sends Kagura to go do Inuyasha, but Kagura, like, half-heartedly fights Inuyasha. She's just like, one technique. Here's a wind slash. Inuyasha's just like, block, there's no killing attempt at this at all, the fuck? And Kagura's just like, I'm here to fight you, I guess. And Inuyasha's just all like, okay. But yeah, Inuyasha breaks through Naraku's barrier, and both Inuyasha and Sesshoumaru, they don't necessarily work as a team, but they basically do enough damage that Naraku's like, yeah, fuck y'all, I'm out of here, bye, peace. But at the same time, though, now, per warning, wait, did I mention that already, that Rin was kidnapped by Kagura on Naraku's orders? I think I did mention that, didn't I? Pretty sure I fucking did. That's a really big, important plot point here. So, the entire time that the two brothers are in the vicinity of Naraku, not once does Sesshoumaru try to fight Inuyasha. Not once does Sesshoumaru look down on Inuyasha either. Not fucking once. Granted, he just does his own thing, which goes to show that, you know, both these brothers are one and the same, kind of. You know, pretty sure that, like, if Inuyasha wasn't a half yokai or a hanyo, Sesshoumaru probably wouldn't have too much of a problem with him. Unless it's like some King Lear kind of shit. Like only one of them could be, you know, the next quote unquote big dog. then yeah, we probably would still have that slight rivalry. So it turns out the entire time that Rin had been not in the same castle where Naraku's at, because all the miasma would have killed her in seconds. So she's in another location that is surrounded by feral yokai spirits, and she's guarded by Kohaku, who is Sango's brother. Well, Sango's dead brother, whose reanimated corpse is being kept alive, I mean, by the Shikon fragments. Or Shikon fragment that is embedded into his neck. Is his neck or upper back? Like one of the two. Don't quite remember. The thing is that, like, immediately when Inuyasha hears that Kohaku's the one that is with Rin, Inuyasha knows that Kohaku at any given moment can be persuaded to kill whomever is around. Despite the fact that Kohaku does have enough strength in his soul to kind of thwart that, but not really. It's more like where the body will keep on doing, but the mind will kind of prevent the body from doing, sort of deal. And so everybody gets to the location. There's a huge swarm of yokai about to, attack the exact location that Rin is at. First, Sango, Miroku, Kogome, and Shippo, well, who doesn't really do anything, because for most parties, just useless. They get there first, they handle their stuff, then Inuyasha shows up, and when Inuyasha shows up, Kohaku and Rin have already fled the scene. By riding, Kohaku gets Rin to ride with him onto this fucking dragon, and when they're alone in some kind of like meadow or whatever, Rin gets the order Kohaku gets the order to kill Rin, which he almost succeeds. But Inuyasha kind of arrives in the nick of time, and Sesshomaru arrives also. But Sesshomaru arrives before Inuyasha. And here's the kicker, okay? Sesshomaru gets Kohaku in his clutches. He's holding the kid by his neck up off the ground and lets the kid go because he feels no killing intent. Now, here's a few things, okay? The old Sesshomaru probably would have just killed Kohaku without a second's notice. But this new Sesshomaru, I feel by being around Rin, that he's starting to understand that humans have their own value. It could be that maybe Rin, in her presence, being around both Sesshomaru and Jaken, is actually helping them understand the meaning of humanity. Because there's one other thing that I forgot to mention, that for the first time ever, we actually see Sesshomaru get pissed off on the behalf of somebody else. Now, unlike Inuyasha, who is very vocal about his feelings, to an extent, for the people around him, Sesshomaru really isn't vocal about that. It's more or less his actions that speak louder. Like, Sesshomaru led on that he did not care about Rin, but the truth of the matter is, Sesshomaru searched out for Naraku. Now, granted, Naraku made his presence more available and known to Sesshomaru, but still, Sesshomaru seeked him out to end him, because he knows how underhanded Naraku is, and that Naraku will try to attempt these underhanded tactics again and again and again, as long as he believes that they will work. And the crazy thing is that they actually could have ended Naraku with this volume. But I guess Rumiko Takahashi has plot points that haven't been solved yet. And there are a couple I could think of. And so with that being said, that's I'd say the first story that we get. Now after Naraku leaves and Naraku and his minions leave, his castle just kind of like disappears, so does his trace. Naraku's scent just vanishes. Now, I remember that Naraku is also Hanyo, just like Inuyasha, so it could very well be that... Now, here's the thing, too. Naraku can actually, if I remember this correctly, he can decipher for, I think, like how long and when he can go back into his human state. And I believe that at the moment, he's probably in some kind of suspended animation to where his large and suffocating evil aura isn't being leaked out, which is why no one could fucking find him. And the one that's kind of on his trail, or at least she thinks that she is on his trail, is Kikyo. Because, if y'all remember, Kikyo is dead set on ending Naraku's life. But also dead set on making sure that Naraku becomes a full-fledged demon. That way, she can properly end his life. And so she's basically traveling the countryside to any spot that she can sense some kind of evil intent, which leads her to this like mountain range where evil men go in order to be purified. I get this feeling that Naraku is holding himself there, because this place might have that kind of energy that will prevent his evil aura from escaping. Basically making him untraceable. So another person who kind of finds out where Naraku's castle was the most annoying character in this fucking series, and I don't mean Shippo. Shippo actually has some redeeming qualities to him. He's funny sometimes, and sometimes, yeah, he does put in some work. I know I call him useless, but that's just a running gag I've been using. But the character I fucking hate is Kouga. God, I fucking hate this character so much. I don't hate a lot of things, but I hate this fucking character. Mainly because Kouga thinks too highly of himself, honestly. Now, the whole plot with Kouga is that him and his boys stumble... did they stumble upon Naraku's castle? No, it's more like they were looking for Naraku's castle, and a remnant of Naraku's body was left behind. This remnant was basically, it was like a giant hairball with a mouth that's hungry for the Shikon fragments. And long story short, both Kouga and Inuyasha defeat it. Well, actually, mainly Kouga defeats it, technically. But yeah, but Kouga almost gets himself and Kagome killed. Because why? Because he's a fucking idiot. That's why. And does not know how to think beyond his hatred of Inuyasha and his thirstiness for Kagome. Funny enough, the hairball really reminded me of Critters, which is a creature feature horror film that's about like these little fur balls. They're like basketball in size, I believe, like, yeah. And they chew through things. That's what this thing reminded me of. Except for, its abilities was more about its hair than its actual feasting ability. And one part of the core features it had was that it was actually able to cut away its own hair and utilize its cutaway hair as a way to bondage up its victims. It would have been very unique if this creature was a offspring of Naraku, but it also being an appendage of Naraku, meaning that it was part of Naraku's body at one point, also makes sense too. But it seems that an appendage of Naraku is actually not as strong as an offspring of Naraku. So let's keep that in mind. So anytime another appendage is left by itself or left behind, it's really not going to be that much of a threat. However, it will be persistent in trying to capture whomever has Shikon fragments with them. But then a weird thing happens with this volume. That is, there's a couple weird things. Okay, there's one part where it kind of throws us back into Kagome's timeline. And Inuyasha's there. A lot of like slice of life kind of stuff. You know, it was actually really fun seeing Inuyasha. We've seen him interact with Sota before, but this time he's interacting with Sota as like Sota's treating him like he's a family pet. You know, giving him a bath, giving him food, and then at the end he just kind of sleeps on Kagome's bed. It was a pretty funny chapter, I gotta say. But in a way, it kind of ruined the flow of the overall story. But it was a necessary break from just how intense the story has become. Then we have this chapter at the very end of the volume where they meet this old lady who seems to be like maybe she's not really a priestess, but she's caught fighting some looks like some kind of like fox yokai that Inuyasha disperses of immediately. Then they learn about this big ass like Oni head and this place called Oni Head Castle that apparently one of its residents has been attacking maids and servants that either go close or into this individual's room, and he just cuts them down. Whether or not they die, I don't remember if that was actually mentioned or not. I don't think they die. Maybe one or two did. But long story short, the gang decides to help out with the old woman. And immediately they go to the castle, they just feel this evil presence all around them. Yet the old lady just seems oblivious to it. Like she doesn't notice it at all. Or maybe she's been around it so much that she just doesn't realize, she just no longer senses it. It's kind of like when somebody lives in a house and they don't realize that like their furniture stinks because they've smelled it for a long time. They got used to the smell. Then somebody comes over, and then they get a whiff of that said furniture, and they're like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" It's kind of like I guess it's like that. And so night dawns, and the Oni head appears in the sky. Sango tries to attack it, nothing. Inuyasha tries to attack it, nothing. Nothing is facing this thing, and I'm surprised they're trying to attack this because they were both told about the history of the castle that, like, I guess the lord of the castle decapitated an Oni and brought its head back to the castle and buried its head and made the castle or constructed the castle over the Oni's head. That way, the Oni's head would be a protector for the castle itself. So this Oni, this giant floating Oni head, is essentially a spirit. And probably the only way for them to exercise the spirit is to call Sam and Dean, have the Winchester brothers dig up the bones and burn them. Yes, I just made a supernatural reference in an Inuyasha review. What? I'm curious to see how Rumiko Takahashi is going to handle this situation. How is she going to, what she'll have these characters do. And maybe it won't be dumb. Alright, so what did you guys think of Inuyasha Volume 23? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you'd be so kind to give this video a thumbs up, that way the YouTube algorithm will know that my content is worth watching, or at least worth seeing. Also, go ahead and share this video. Share it with your friends, your family, your dog, your cat, whoever. Just share the damn video, okay? And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Or subscribe to the channel. And make sure that bell is a ring-a-ding-dingin'. That way you will know when I put out more content. Alright. Catch y'all later.